The Federal Reserve's monetary policy has a direct impact on your pockets, plain and simple. Having a good understanding of the Federal Reserve's monetary policy and how to make money, save money, and invest money based on the aggressiveness of their policy or the passiveness of their policy can literally make you wealthy over time. You can either be swimming upstream or you can be swimming with the current, depending on what the Federal Reserve is doing and the type of financial moves you make. And as objective as the Federal Reserve strives to be, there's no doubt that there's political influence in their decision making. There's no way around it. So with that having been the case, we're going to quickly trace the steps of the Federal Reserve's policies from COVID in 2020 to current day and get a projection of where they're going and what influence the 2024 election and who's going to take office and what administration takes office could have on that policy. And most importantly, how all of that is going to help you build your wealth, what you need to be doing to build your wealth as we map this out. In 2020, we know we were exposed officially to COVID. That having been said, that had a massive impact on the economy because it shut down for the most part. And the stock market, real estate, the majority of everything that we know in our economy took a pause. With that having been said, drastic measures, drastic times, drastic measures. The government decided to stimulate the economy by printing money, well, endorsing policies to print money. The Federal Reserve did the printing, and the Federal Reserve also cut rates. Whether we want to like it or not, of course, this seemed like the best interest for the American people and our overall economy and businesses, but this was partly politically driven. That having been said, the Federal Reserve continued this policy through 2021. The conversation around inflation came up at this point in time, and the Federal Reserve ignored the concept of inflation at all from its policies. And then it graduated up to saying inflation is possible or it may be here, but it's only transitory. Mind you, the entire time, the government administration is looking to try to stem the tide of what seemed to be a down economy from COVID. So the Federal Reserve, following suit, turns a blind eye to keep these policies going longer. That having been said, we hit 2022 if we fast forward, and the Federal Reserve finally acknowledges inflation is real, that it could be sticky, and that they need to take action. Spring 2022, the Federal Reserve starts to raise rates. At this point in time, the Fed's fund rate is somewhere around 0 or 0.25, absolute lowest that we've ever seen in this country. From that point on to current day, they've raised it to the highest it's been at the fastest rate in 2 decades. That having been said, the Federal Reserve projects that it could need to either stay steady or possibly keep increasing until the end of 2025. The Federal Reserve's own projections state that it could take up to the end of 2025 to get core inflation down to 2% and stable at 2%, where inflation won't take off as soon as the Federal Reserve starts to come down off of rates. One of their biggest fears is that they back off the pedal too soon and then inflation takes off. That having been said, we've had the most indecisive analysts, and analytics around what direction the economy is going to go in from the Federal Reserve's policies. There's been the recession talk. Now we're having a pivot where analysts and, the Atlanta Fed, these different analysts and analytic companies and entities have basically started to project not only will we not be in a recession, but the third quarter endings, which is the quarter we're ending right now, the third quarter GDP is projected to go from what it ended at in the last quarter, which I believe was 2.6 to 5.8, which got revised from 5.0 just a few days apart, from August 15th to August 18th. In plain English, the economy is projected to be booming in the third quarter with massive downward pressure from the Federal Reserve. That having been the case, now it's time to stop and think. We have the 2024 election. That's going to take place, all of next year, but it'll commence and we'll get to some kind of resolution in the fourth quarter of next year. The Federal Reserve's projection is that they're going to need to stay aggressive on rates until the end of 2025. So when you think about an administration taking office at the beginning of 2025, we're essentially looking at a scenario where the Federal Reserve is going to allow the economy, they're going to hope that they've suppressed inflation effectively, and they're going to allow the economy to boom going into 2025 and beyond. The narrative supporting the Federal Reserve's decision to do that is that economists and analysts are saying that the economy is going to be booming with the downward pressure the Federal Reserve is applying right now. So that basically means that it becomes sustainable and necessary for the Federal Reserve to not only keep rates up, but to possibly have to raise them going into next year, 2024. If the economy is hot with the downward pressure, we're talking about basically some of the biggest GDP growth that we've seen in this country in a long time, during the highest and the fastest and most aggressive rate hikes that we've seen in decades, then that basically supports the Federal Reserve's theory that they have to keep rates high and that they may have to raise them further. What does that look like for our personal finances? What does that look like for investing? What does that look like for the real estate market, the stock market? What does that look like for stacking business capital and getting access to capital? How does that affect the banking system? This is the kind of question we need to ask ourselves. And what political narrative is tied to this, if any? That's my biggest question to all of you, is what political narrative is being subsidized or supported, if any, around the Federal Reserve's movement? Their job is to be objective and to focus on the overall health of the United States economy. Fair enough. But we all know that the federal government has massive tentacles in our private market, free market economy. So if that's the case, waiting until basically another administration takes office to back off of rates officially, if they make it that far, because that's my next question, is will the Federal Reserve be able to make it all the way through 2024 without having to cut rates? That's another question I want you to respond to in the comments below. But that having been said, the Federal Reserve is making it clear that they plan to be out of the way by 2025. If that is the case, and right now core inflation is has been falling for the most part. Headline inflation has been falling precipitously since the Federal Reserve's rate hikes. But some kind of way they still feel like they need up to 2 more years to get inflation down. That rides out the rest of this administration that we're currently, currently holding office. Is there a political narrative behind the Federal Reserve's policies at this point? Is there some kind of connection between the election cycle and the Federal Reserve's pivot on rates, their own pronounced projection on pivots on rates? Most importantly, outside of this, answering these questions, how do you move your money around? What investment moves are you going to make? How are you going to earn and save your money? What are you going to do based on the projections that I just laid out in this video that the Federal Reserve and other sources have put out there? The Federal Reserve has a lot of pressure going on from different segments of the economy to continue their aggressive rate hikes. Same thing on cutting rates or taking the pressure off. The banking system, which we're going to shoot a whole nother video about soon, is in pretty rough shape. And that's a systemic issue. So how does this affect your financial planning? How does this affect your ability to move money around, your business? What are you doing differently? How is this going to affect you? And is there a political connection? I'm just curious. It's just a theory. I want you to comment down below. I also want you to comment down below, who do you think is going to take the 2024 election based on the candidates available on either side of the aisle right now? I want you to comment down below and let me know what political party and what political candidate are you banking on to take office? And maybe let me know what you think is going to happen once that happens. Other than that, to all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. I want you guys to comment down below and respond to some of these questions. If you want to learn more about myself and the channel, I want you to start in the description section and work your way to the About section. Most importantly, I want you to subscribe, like, share this to keep the conversation going to anyone you believe that can get value from this video. Other than that, I want y'all to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.
This is JP from Blueprint for Prosperity Network, a channel dedicated to helping you increase your net worth through relationship banking, maximizing your borrowing capacity, the proper use of life insurance, and the ownership of real estate. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm uploading content on a daily basis to help you customize your blueprint for prosperity.